In the summer of 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte embarked on his most ambitious campaign yet. The invasion of Russia, at the height of his power, Napoleon sought to force Tsar Alexander I to submit to his will, assembling the largest army the world had ever seen. But the campaign would prove to be a harrowing journey into the heart of darkness. The Russians refused to meet Napoleon in a decisive battle, instead opting for a strategy of attrition. They retreated deeper into their vast territory, destroying everything in their wake. As the French army pressed on, hunger, disease, and the harsh Russian climate began to take their toll. At Borodino, Napoleon finally caught up and forced the Russians to give battle. The engagement was ferocious, with both sides suffering horrific casualties. Though Napoleon emerged victorious, it was a Pyrrhic victory, with over 70,000 men dead or wounded. The road to Moscow was open, but the cost had been immense. On September 14, 1812, Napoleon entered Moscow, expecting to force the Tsar to negotiate. But the city had been abandoned and set ablaze, leaving Napoleon with nothing to show for his efforts. As winter approached, he was left with no choice but to retreat. The retreat from Moscow was a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. Starvation, frostbite, and relentless Russian attacks turned the Grande Armée's retreat into a death march. Of the 600,000 men who had marched into Russia, fewer than 100,000 would make it out alive. In one of the most tragic moments of the campaign, a blunder at the Berezina River led to the loss of thousands more. The bridges were destroyed too soon, sacrificing an entire corps to the enemy. Napoleon's once invincible army was now in shambles. Napoleon's disastrous Russian campaign emboldened his enemies. The Sixth Coalition united to bring down the French Empire, and in 1813, Napoleon faced his greatest challenge yet. The Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of Nations, was a cataclysmic confrontation. For 4 days, the armies of Europe fought in a titanic struggle, with Napoleon's forces outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Despite his tactical brilliance, Napoleon was overwhelmed by sheer numbers, and the battle ended in a crushing defeat. Leipzig marked the beginning of the end. Napoleon's empire was crumbling, and his once loyal allies turned against him. Though his empire was on the brink of collapse, Napoleon fought to defend his land with unmatched tenacity during what is known as the 6 Days Campaign, demonstrating his tactical genius once more. But it was too little, too late. His enemies, now on French soil, pressed on relentlessly. Betrayed by Talleyrand and abandoned by his marshals, Napoleon was forced to abdicate on April 6, 1814. The Bourbon monarchy was restored, and Napoleon was exiled to the small island of Elba in the Mediterranean. In a final act of despair, he attempted suicide, but the poison he took failed to end his life. In a daring escape, Napoleon returned to France in March 1815, beginning the period known as the 100 Days. As he marched toward Paris, soldiers sent to stop him instead joined his ranks, and soon he was back on the throne, determined to reclaim his empire. But the Allies, determined to end Napoleon's reign once and for all, declared war. The stage was set for one final showdown: the Battle of Waterloo. Despite his experience and brilliance, Napoleon was outmaneuvered and outgunned. After a day of fierce fighting, the French army was broken and Napoleon's fate was sealed. Banished to St. Helena, Napoleon lived out his remaining years in isolation, far from the glory of his former life. Under the constant surveillance of 2,000 British men, he spent his days reflecting on his past, dictating his memoirs, and battling the illnesses that would eventually claim his life in 1821. Napoleon Bonaparte rose from obscurity to become the master of Europe. His ambition knew no bounds, his military genius unmatched, and his political acumen unparalleled. But in the end, it was his insatiable desire for power that led to his downfall. From the battlefields of Europe to the lonely island of St. Helena, Napoleon's life was a testament to the heights of human ambition and the depths of human folly. A man who reshaped the world in his image, only to be consumed by the very forces he unleashed.